Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So glad that you can join us on the Mind Movement Health podcast this week. I'm your host, Kate Boyle, and before we dive into this week's episode, we have a small shout out to our lovely sponsors, Paleo Valley. Now, if you are looking for some great supplements to help support your diet and products that can really help with your energy and vitality, then don't look any further than Paleo Valley. I myself take their protein powder, their vitamin C, and their turmeric. Organic and great for you. Check out their products and grab your exclusive podcast listener discount in the podcast show notes. All right, let's get back to this podcast episode. Now, this week on the show's a little timely. We are talking about walking and that dream destination walking holiday, European summer. Have you ever returned from a holiday with incredible memories, but your feet just felt wrecked? Perhaps you spent weeks exploring the streets of Italy or wandering through Paris, hiking the Greek islands, or maybe it wasn't in Europe, maybe it was in New Zealand or Asia. Wherever it is, you may have found yourself battling through sore arches, aching heels, swollen feet, or even knee, hip, or lower back pain. Now, if you are planning a walking holiday or a European summer and it involves a lot of trekking around, then today's episode is for you. As a Pilates instructor and a movement specialist, I've seen firsthand how often people prepare every aspect of their lives for a trip. So they plan the itinerary for months. They go out shopping to make sure they've got every item that they need. They may come into class and say, I want my arms to look good or my stomach to look good because I'm going to be wearing a bathing suit. But they often miss their feet. And your feet are literally your foundation. They carry you through everyday life, through all your adventures, through your sightseeing, standing in those airport terminals, all those long queues, and so much more. Yet most of us don't think about doing anything to them or for them until they start hurting. So in today's episode, I'm going to explain why foot pain often appears on holidays, the hidden downside of relying too heavily on supportive footwear, and why just some simple, healthy feet exercises can change so much. And if you'd like to grab my complete Strong Feet guide, then listen in because you can download and grab that for free in the show notes, and I'll share more at the end of the episode as well. Now, one of the biggest reasons people experience foot pain while they're traveling is pretty simple, and that's just sheer volume. At home, you may average around 5,000 to 8,000 steps a day. You may do a little bit less or a little bit more. Then you arrive in Europe or on your lovely holiday, and suddenly you're walking 15,000, 20,000, 25,000 steps a day. Now, that's a huge increase in workload for your feet, your ankles, your calves, your knees, your hips, your whole body. And walking on uneven surfaces. If you've been to Asia, you know there's no footpaths. You're kind of walking up and down, no curbs, no roads sometimes. Maybe it's up hills, upstairs, cobblestones, standing around in queues for hours, sometimes carrying luggage and having different footwear. Sometimes it's just so hot where you're going, you need to wear thongs or sandals. Or maybe you want to look good in an outfit even though you're walking along those cobblestone streets. So there's no surprise sometimes that foot pain can be one of our biggest travel complaints. And the problem is most people wait until their feet hurt before they actually start doing anything about it. Now, we would never sign up for a half marathon, running 21 kilometers, or I hope we wouldn't, without doing some form of training. Yet many of us ask our feet to do the equivalent amount of steps on holiday and sometimes on a daily basis. The good news is that we only need a little bit of preparation to make a massive difference. Only a couple of exercises for our feet, maybe 2 minutes a day, can have a huge flow-on effect, reduce foot pain, improve mobility and strength, and you can do it anywhere at any time. Now, before we dive into those exercises, a lot of people often will bring in their shoes to class and say to me, will these be a great shoe for my European trip? I'm doing lots of walking. And I don't want to say that supportive shoes are bad. I don't want any messages. I love supportive shoes. Even when we just had our recent European holiday, I made sure that I had a really good pair of runners with me and a really good pair of walking shoes that still looked nice, but were really functional. However, when it comes to these supportive shoes, many of us rely on them too much. We think that we don't have to do any work on our feet as long as we have these cushioned, highly sort of designed, controlled shoes. But when we go on holidays, these just sometimes aren't enough. And also, when we're using or wearing these supportive shoes all the time, it can lead to weaker muscles in the feet and lower legs. So have a think, if we changed it to our arms and we were wearing a brace around our arm all day, eventually the muscles underneath that brace can become weaker. We may not use the arm as much. We may not activate those muscles because they're getting all that support and they don't have to switch on. And the same thing can happen with our feet. Our feet contain 26 bones, 33 joints, and more than 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments. Now, that's a lot. And when those structures become weaker or less mobile, that's when we start to have problems. And that's why I encourage people to think beyond just getting that perfect shoe and instead invest just a little bit of time in strengthening and mobilizing the feet. Now, what can happen when you start to get sore feet is that the pain doesn't just stay at the feet. It can start to travel up the body. And when your feet don't move well or they lack strength or mobility, it can affect the alignment and the biomechanics of your knees, your hips, and the lower back. If your ankles roll in a lot, the arches are collapsing in, this can alter the knee alignment, putting more pressure on the knees, and then that flow-on effect putting more pressure on the hips. It can affect your pelvis alignment, which will therefore affect your lower back position. And you see where I'm going with this. The flow-on effect is right up through the body when it comes to pain and injuries. So a lot of the time, people will say to me, oh, I've got knee pain or I've got hip pain. And when we work on the feet, that pain disappears, which is fantastic. So suddenly what started as a foot issue or a knee issue can cause discomfort elsewhere. And working with the feet, starting at that ground up, is a great place to start, because even if not all of your knee or hip pain is coming from the foot, I can guarantee you there is going to be some percentage coming from there. So even if we start to get rid of 25% of that knee pain, 10%, 40% of that knee pain just from starting at the feet, then that's huge. That means we can then move up to the knee and start working there next. Now, some of the common travel sort of foot issues that tend to pop up, and I know I've had a few myself, there's a number of them, but we're going to go through just a couple, just so you know what they are or you can be aware of if you ever have these pop up. The first one is plantar fasciitis. This one is super common. If you're listening in right now, I'm sure you've either had it or experienced it at some point, or maybe you've had a loved one that's experienced it. It can be very painful. And it starts underneath the arch or the heel of the foot, particularly first thing in the morning when you've had a period of rest. You go to get up, you put your feet on the floor, and you get this pain straight up through the heel or the arch. It usually comes on when there's been an increased walking volume, which can aggravate the symptoms, especially if the tissue under the foot is already tight or under excessive load. So again, going back into lots of walking, adding all these miles on when we're not used to doing it. Even footwear, I sort of find in the change of seasons, we start to see plantar fasciitis come through. Maybe you've been wearing your runners a lot in that spring season, you come into summer and then you just swap and you're wearing either thongs or bare feet all the time. And again, that's where we can find in summer you may be more active, so we've had that increased load of activity, or you're wearing less supportive shoes and your muscles aren't strong enough to go barefoot or in thongs because they're so used to being and having that support wearing the supportive shoes. Same thing can happen in winter when we are wearing slippers all the time. We don't move the same when we're wearing slippers. We often sort of slouch and scuff them through. We're not walking and moving through the foot and being as active. We can be a lot more sedentary in winter. And then spring comes along and we start to go, we're feeling motivated. We'll go out for that run. We'll start that new exercise. And we start to get plantar fasciitis develop because we've had that increase in load and activity. Another one that pops up often is aching arches. The muscles that support the arch of the foot become fatigued and they're suddenly asked to do all this work with all this walking and they're not accustomed to it. It often is just a dull ache kind of in the sole of the foot or under the arch of the foot. And most often than not, after a bit of rest, it will settle down, but it can be really quite uncomfortable when you know you've got more walking to do that day or you've got to get up again the next day and go again. Another one that I often see is bunion irritation. So long days in shoes where you're either wearing shoes that are rubbing against that bunion, maybe they're a little bit narrower or more restrictive than usual, or you're wearing them for a longer period of time. I have many clients that will wear shoes when they're out and about, and as soon as they get home, they take their shoes off because they have more space for the feet, more space for that bunion. But when you're out in Europe and you're walking and seeing the sights all day, you may be in shoes for 10 hours a day, and at home, maybe you're only used to wearing them sort of 3 or 4 hours a day. So that increased pressure around the big toe can often lead to joint discomfort, pain, and inflammation. And then finally, we want to touch on, swollen feet and ankles. Long plane flight, we can often, finish the flight. You find that your feet and ankles are puffy. You might find the warmer weather, again, prolonged sitting, prolonged standing, dehydration if you haven't got that good flow of hydration going, or even stagnant lymph. These can all contribute to swelling and just getting that really uncomfortable feeling in the feet and ankles. And the common thread through all these sort of common conditions or injuries that we find is that preparation really matters. The stronger and more mobile your feet are before you start your trip, the better they'll be able to cope when you're away and with all the demands of travel. Now, I want to chat about one of my favorite exercises, but I'm actually going to give you just a little series as we're going to chat about one tool that I love to use to help release the feet, but also strengthen them. And it's incredibly simple. It's very small. You can pack it with you when you go away. I never travel without one. I always have one. And that is a little massage ball. Now, if you're watching the video here, you'll see that I'm just showing a little massage ball that I pack away. You can get all different sizes of massage balls, okay? Smaller ones, bigger ones, smooth, dimples, whatever works for you. Remember, it's about individualization. Some people have more sensitive feet. If you have, diabetes or you've had any neuropathy in the feet, then I do suggest looking for a softer massage ball, be a little bit more gentle because the feet will be a bit more sensitive. If you're used to doing a lot of sport or you're highly active, you may want a slightly stronger one just to get in a little bit deeper, but depends on your pain tolerance and where your feet are at. So find a massage ball that works for you, but they're lightweight, they're inexpensive, As I said, they fit into your luggage and you can use them not just only on your feet, but on all tight areas of your body. Your calves, your hamstrings, your ITBs, your glutes, your lower back, your shoulders, your neck. So this is one of those must, take travel pieces with you. I always pack one, no matter if I'm going away just for a weekend or I took one with me for our 6 weeks trip to Europe, because I used it daily. You can use it sitting down, standing up. You don't have to select and put in extra time. You can just use it while you're watching TV or brushing your teeth or, multitask at the same time. So I'm going to share 3 ways you can use this massage ball that's going to help really improve the mobility and also the strength of your feet. Now, the first one I want to start with is just by rolling the foot over the massage ball. So place the foot over the ball and then just rolling through the arch of the foot, going forward and back through the whole foot. If you find a little bit of a tight spot, you can kind of get into that foot, but take your time. Keep breathing and don't go over the top. So don't push super hard. Just find, a comfortable sort of level that you can feel it digging in and releasing without causing a whole heap of pain. Now, this helps to release the muscle and fascia there underneath the foot. It can help relax the foot, but also take some of the tension that's coming up into the calves as well. So if you release just one foot and then have a stand and feel the difference between the 2 feet, you'll find the one that you used with the massage ball will feel lighter, freer, more mobile. Just 30 seconds to a minute on each foot is amazing. So don't underestimate just releasing the feet with a massage ball. If you're feeling up for it, the second exercise you can do is a little balance challenge. So for this one, you want to hold on to a wall or a chair, something that you can hold on in front of you. Place a massage ball on the floor. You're going to place your toes onto the massage ball and have your heel of your foot onto the floor. Okay, your other foot can rest on the floor for now. And I just want you to rise up and lift the heel off the floor. So you're pushing your toes into the massage ball and then lower down. So you can do that a few times with that single foot with the other leg on the floor. And then if you can and you're feeling up to it, lift the other foot off the floor, still keep holding on, and do a single leg calf rise on the massage ball. Just make sure you're being safe, okay? You've got a good grip with the ball of the foot onto the massage ball. And again, we're going to get that calf strengthening work, but we're also going to be getting that tactile feedback and that release through the fascia of the foot. If you do this on one foot, stop. See the difference between the other foot, and you'll find that the foot that you've just done it on is going to feel more stable. We've just woken up all those stabilizing muscles. We've woken up the calf muscles. It's going to help improve your balance and your proprioception. And if you can, you want to aim for somewhere between about 10 to 15 rises on each foot. Again, simple, but as I said, make sure you're holding on to something just to be safe. And if you do have 2 massage balls at home, you can do it with the 2 feet at the same time. So either single or double. And then finally, the third exercise is about ankle mobility and foot mobility. So what I want you to do is place the massage ball underneath the ball of the foot. You will have your heel onto the floor. And then what you're going to do is use the forefoot to move the ball from side to side. So the heel stays connected to the floor and you're moving the ball from side to side using the forefoot. So I've used my hands. If you're watching online, okay, I've just used my hand to demonstrate there. It's a little bit hard to move the camera around to get to my feet. But here we're improving that ankle mobility. We're stimulating again the muscles in the feet. We're getting that rotation from side to side. Great for proprioception, balance. And again, if you compare one foot to the other, that foot that's just done that should feel lighter, freer, more mobile. So couple of minutes, doesn't take long. I'd aim for about 10 rotations to each side on each foot. And the best part, about this is that you can do these whilst you travel in your hotel room, there was a lot of Airbnbs we stayed at. And while everybody was kind of sitting and watching TV, I just grabbed that massage ball out, sit on the couch, give my feet a little roll out, do a little bit of ankle mobility, because you can, even that last one, you can sit down and just move that forefoot from side to side in a seated position. You can do it at home. So don't save it for just when you travel. Do it at home. Keep a massage ball in your living room or your bedroom, wherever it's going to encourage you to do these couple of exercises, because they will really make a big difference. Now, I encourage you to try these at home. And also, if you would like to try 3 additional exercises, which are my top exercises that I give out to pretty much all my clients, that are going to help with your foot mobility, your foot resilience, that are going to help you be able to walk, a lot longer each day, then definitely download my Strong Feet, Strong Body guide. You can head on over to the show notes. It's completely free, easy to have a read through and add in those 3 exercises, which will just take you a couple of minutes. So thanks so much for joining me for today's episode. I hope you found it helpful. Please share this episode with a friend. Maybe you have a friend or a family member that's heading off on a big walking trip or a European holiday. And don't miss next week's episode, where we're going to be tackling one of the biggest myths in health and fitness, and that is, do we really need 10,000 steps a day to be healthy? We're going to explore where that number came from, what the research actually says, and how many steps you really need to help support your health and longevity. So until next time, keep moving, look after those feet, and remember that healthy movement starts from the ground up. All right, have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you again next week on the podcast.